So Rayleigh state bearings. So basically in plane slider bearings, we came to know that the pressure develops in this narrow thin film when there is a change in gap. When there is a change in gap, the flow goes from a wide gap to a narrow gap, then the pressure develops. So we can, in that case, we can think of a bearing like this. Okay, this configuration where there is a top plate and there is a bottom plate. So bottom plate is having a step. This is called Rayleigh step. So we have two distinct gaps, H1 and H2. H1 gap is over a region B1 and H2 gap is over region B2. Total width of the bearing is B. So if you are going to solve this bearing, so this is the coordinate system. Okay. Now we know that del P upon del X, our governing equation for one-dimensional case that we always start with, or else you can start from the one-dimensional Reynolds equation itself. This is the governing equation. Now, as you can understand, whether in region B1 or B2, the film thickness is constant. So film thickness here is not a function of X, and it varies. It doesn't vary with X. So over B1 it is H1, over B2 it is H2. So as film thickness is constant, you can very well integrate this equation, and you will get I feel somebody's microphone is on, so I am muting all, then I'll unmute again. Okay, so coming back here, now here we got a constant C1 in this equation, so we need to use boundary conditions. Now you solve this problem in two parts. Take coordinate system for region 1 from the left side. For the right side, also take the coordinate system from the right. Okay. So now the boundary condition for region 1, region B1, boundary conditions. at x equal to 0, p equal to 0, and at x equal to b1, p equal to, let's say, some pressure Pc. That means at this region, some pressure Pc at this region. If you use that, then you will get C1 equal to 0 and Pc is a constant. Okay. Now similarly for region B2, boundary conditions at x equal to 0, B2, P equal to Pc. So very similar way, you will get again C1 equal to 0 and Pc equal to now what is Pc? Pc is the common pressure whether you take region 1 or region 2. So now equate these Pc together. So from that you can find out Hm. From these two equations, you equate these two together, then you'll find out Hm Okay, so this is the value of Hm. Now you got all the constants. So substitute back in pressure equation. So you will get pressure distribution over region B1. Similarly, you will get pressure equation over the region B2. Okay, so these are the two pressure equations you will get over region B1 and B2. Now, already we discussed, once we find out the pressure distribution, we need to find out the load carrying capacity. So in this case, load carrying capacity, you have to add for region 1 and region 2. This is infinitely long bearing So L is very large, so we do not have to integrate, or we are not finding any pressure along L. So 0 to B1, this pressure for region B1 to dx plus L 0 to B2, then pressure for region B2 dx. So if you integrate it, you will get W
So that should be from B1 to B2.
Why? I am taking coordinate system. You see the coordinate system. Okay, I am solving separately. Probably you did not get why I am using PC. I am solving this section separately. This is region B1. This section separately, region B2. Okay.
Okay, Salu.
Taking two coordinate systems. Yes. You see, that's why I am taking this boundary condition for region B1, region B2. Taking a center pressure PC, not center, common pressure PC. Here also taking the same common pressure because both are having the same boundary here. Okay. From that I am finding out, and then I am going ahead. For region B1, I have this pressure. For region B2, I have this pressure. Then I am combining these two to find out the load carrying capacity. Okay. Okay, so this is the load carrying capacity where N, as we already discussed, is equal to H1 minus H2, which is altitude. Okay, so this is what you will get as load carrying capacity. Now, if you want to find out the optimum load carrying capacity for optimum value, you have two variables in hand, B2 and N in the above equation. Above load carrying capacity equation, then you differentiate B2 equal to 0 and dW by dN equal to 0. If you do that, then you will get B2 and N equal to 1.866. Okay, so if you use N equal to 1.866 and B2 as like this ratio, then you should get optimum load carrying capacity. In this condition, your B1 by B2 ratio comes to be 2.549. So using these values, if you find out the load maximum, okay, so this is for finding optimal load carrying capacity, and we found the maximum load as this. So now you solve for this problem. You go ahead and solve homework. Find friction friction and coefficient of friction.
Sorry, I don't know that.
Okay, and then find center of pressure for this case. So these two, you solve for these two in the as home assignment in that tutorial notebook that I asked for last class. Okay. So this is another example of slider bearing. So you can have various configuration of slider bearing. Let's say composite bearings. We saw plain slider bearing. We saw rally step bearing. So you can have a bearing like this also. This configuration where this will be B1 and B2. Okay, this portion B1 portion is inclined like a plain slider bearing, then it is parallel. So you can have a configuration like this, or where this is H1, this is H2, or you can have a configuration like this. Let's say this is exponential and then this is straight. Okay, so this is B1, this is B2. Okay, so many configuration you can have which are called as composite bearings. But this exponential is interesting. That let us see how to find out the pressure distribution in case of exponential films. So exponential bearing kind of like this. Okay. Let us fix our coordinate system here. So H is the film thickness, and this film thickness here is H0. So start from the same equation. Okay. So here in this exponential film, your H is varying like this. H equal to H0 e to the power minus alpha x. You have taken coordinate system in the right, so that's therefore minus alpha x. So this HM equal to, if you want to find out HM, H0 e to the power minus alpha xm. Xm is a point measured from the origin at which H equal to HM, del P upon del X equal to 0. X equal to xm, which implies that H equal to hm, which implies that del P upon del X equal to 0. Now integrate this pressure equation. Once you will get 6 eta u plus C1. Okay, you will get a constant. So there are now two constants, xm and C1. These two has to be evaluated. Now the boundary conditions you have in hand at x equal to minus infinite, e equal to 0. There is no boundary for left side. At x equal to 0, p equal to 0. Okay. So from here, two boundary conditions, you can find out C1 and Xm. So C1 you will get 0 and e to the power minus alpha Xm equal to 3 by 2. Now substitute back in pressure equation, you will find final form of pressure equation like this. P equal to 3 eta u alpha is 0 square e to the power 2 alpha x minus e to the power 3 alpha x. So this is the pressure value or the pressure expression that will get for this exponential bearing. If you want to find out the load carrying capacity, okay, that will be W equal to L minus infinite to 0 P 3x. Okay. That will get this is your load carrying capacity for the bearing. So homework, you find coefficient of friction for this bearing. Find coefficient of friction for this exponential bearing. So any doubt so far? Okay, so there are various cases possible for plane slider bearing, depending on the geometry or configuration. Now, this is a one-dimensional Reynolds equation that we are solving. So now, as we will be solving the two-dimensional Reynolds equation in numerical form, as I have already explained, two-dimensional Reynolds equation getting into a closed form solution in pen and paper is difficult. So therefore, people solve it using numerical techniques. So let us first understand these numerical techniques with one-dimensional equations. Even one-dimensional equation we can solve with pen and paper, but still if we learn how to solve one-dimensional equation in numerical technique, then it will be easy for us to solve two-dimensional equation also in the same numerical technique. There are various numerical solution methods available. So numerical solution of slider bearing. So this part you be very careful. You can ask me any question because after this you have to do a MATLAB program and submit the assignment in Moodle. So this is the same plane slider bearing that we discussed last class. This is a plane slider bearing. Infinitely long. Okay, plane slider bearing infinitely long. So just refer to your last class problem. Okay, so this side is B, this is L. L is very large as compared to B. So first of all, the governing equation. Let us start from the Reynolds equations straight away. So del by del x. Okay. Now rearrange this equation. Just open these differentials and rearrange the equation. So bring this del square p upon del x square to the left. So whatever remaining, put on the right side. Okay. So this is the rearranged one-dimensional Reynolds equation. That is what you are going to use for this numerical solution. So first of all, there are various numerical methods or solutions or techniques available. You might be knowing already: finite element method, finite difference method, finite volume method. So here we are going to use finite difference method. Okay. So for any numerical solution, this is your solution space. Okay. That varies from, let's say, 0 to B. So this solution space you have to discretize. So taking certain points. So this is the distance from 0 to B. Okay. So x goes like this. This is x. X goes from 0 to B, total width. What we do in any numerical method, you discretize the domain with certain nodes. Okay. So more number of nodes means you will get better accuracy in result. Now we have discretized the whole length 0 to B, so with certain number of nodal points. Now let us name this name any nodal point. Let's say at any nodal point, this is called ith node. So obviously the left side node I can call I minus 1, right side node I can call I plus 1. Okay. Now I varies from I equal to 1 to number of nodes that you select, or nx, let's say number of data points or node points that you select. For this case, let us say number of points are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So nx equal to 9 for particular case we are considering. Okay. So at any node number I, now if you look back this equation, what you need to evaluate? You need to evaluate del h upon del x, del p upon del x, okay, del square p upon del x square at those points. So at any point I, how do you write del p upon del x at any point I? You can write that p I plus 1, we are going for central difference method, p I minus 1 divided by 2 delta x. This difference here is delta x. Okay, so the value p I plus 1, this one, minus p I minus 1, this one, divided by, this is becoming 2 delta x, so this is 1 delta x, so this total distance is 2 delta x. Okay, so this expression will give you del p upon del x at ith point. Now the next thing is that if you want to evaluate del p upon del x, del square p upon del x square at ith point, then let us assume two hypothetical points here and here. Okay, so two hypothetical points. So we are naming these 2 points I minus half, I plus half. Okay. Now what I'll do, so this is del p I. Suppose I know the differentiation at I plus half, then I can write del x minus del x. Suppose these two values are known, the differentiation with respect to x at I plus 1, I plus half and I minus half are known. Then very well you can write del square p upon del x square at I equal to see this expression. Any doubt? Let me know.
Explain how this has come.
Okay. Imagine that del p I plus half by del x is known, just for the time imagine. Okay. Similarly, del p, sorry, this is not I plus, this is I minus. Similarly, del p I plus half by del x is known. These differentiations are suppose known to you at I plus half point, I minus half point. Okay. So what I'm basically doing, first differentiation known to me. So that's why this del p I plus half del x, del p I minus half del x. These are 2 points. So I am dividing that by delta x because the separation here is delta x from here to here. From here to here, the separation is delta x. Okay. Any doubt? These two are known. Let me move forward, write the next expression, then we'll understand completely. So what we are doing then? So what is the value of this del p I plus half by del x? So del p I plus half by del x, okay, that is equal to p I plus 1 minus pi divided by delta x, okay, minus pi minus pi minus 1 divided by delta x. See carefully. Now what is the value of, as you are asking, this del p half, sorry, del p I minus half and del p I plus half. This is actually del p I plus half. That you take the adjacent points, del p I plus 1 minus del p I. Similarly, what is the value of this del p I minus half? You take del pi minus I minus 1 divided by delta x. Okay, so whole divided by delta x. Any doubt? So this way you get the double differentiation. So finally final expression will become p I plus 1 minus 2pi minus plus p I minus 1 divided by delta x square. So this is the expression, algebraic expression for double differentiation. At ith point, del square p upon del x square at ith point is defined like this. Okay, so if you want to write del h upon del x at ith point, you just replace p with h. The similar algebraic form will be retained. Now what you do, this this del p upon del x and del square p upon del x square, you substitute that in this expression. Okay, so if you substitute that in this expression and then take pi to the left, so your final form of expression will become so this is your expression or the equation in algebraic form that you are going to use for numerical solution. So any doubt so far? This expression I am directly getting from this expression while substituting del p upon del x and del square p upon del x square. So you take p to the left side, whatever remaining put in the right side. Okay, now you have to solve this problem in MATLAB. So what is your h? Last class we discussed h equal to h1 minus alpha x. Okay, so same thing you can use here for plane slider bearing. Depending on the geometry, you have to use the expression for h. If it is exponential, then you have to use e to the power alpha x or minus alpha x. Depending on the type of geometry and coordinate system you select. Now, if you want to solve this problem, so let me write in MATLAB oriented solving so that it is easier for you to solve directly. So for any problem, you assume certain parameters. Okay. First, you generate the grid. This grid. First is the generation of this grid. So this grid is, we have one dimension. So one dimension is x. Solution. Okay, one dimension is x. So x varies from 0 to b. Okay. In MATLAB specifically you can use linspace to create the grid and nx. Nx is the number of nodes that you want to divide the width of the bearing. So this will generate your coordinates of the nodes. So once you have that, then it is straightforward. H equal to the variation of h equal to directly alpha x. X is an array now. Having the coordinates of x is an array having the coordinates of all these points. Okay. So coordinates of all these points are in x now. So similarly, h will vary based on the value of alpha. These are input. This alpha you have to assume. Okay. And b also you have to assume. Alpha you have to assume. Assume means it depends on the type of bearing. And nx, of course, it is up to you. What is the number of node you are taking for solution? So once it is done, then define P equal to, P stands for, let us say, pressure. Define a P, P equal to same size as your x, all zeros. Okay. Same size as x. Similarly, define another P, which is P, let's say P old. I'm just writing P old, which is again zeros. This is the initialization. Size as x, or you can say P old equal to P. Okay. So now let us start the process. So in this process, this is the iterative process. You start solving from the point 1. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll take a for loop for I equal to 2 to nx minus 1. Okay. Why I'm taking 2 to ns minus 1? Can anybody tell me why I am not solving the first point and last point?
Those are boundary conditions.
Yes. Okay. So as your friend says, these are the boundary conditions. You can see as per our bearing, this first point and last point belongs to the boundary and both are 0, and we already taken care that here we have taken everything 0, so obviously first and last points are 0, remaining 0, so we are not solving for it. So now straightforward, you write P of I equal to RHS. This is RHS of the expression. This is the right hand side, RHS of the expression. Okay. And this RHS of the expression you write here. But when you write RHS of the expression, you do not write P here in the RHS side, you write P old. Okay. P old of I, or if you are using I plus 1, not I will not come, I plus 1, I minus 1. Okay. So that means in the right hand side, this expression, wherever P is appearing, you just write P old. Understood? Any doubt? Okay. So in this for loop, now end the for loop. So once you run this for loop, you run this in your mind, it will run from P of 2 to P of nx minus 1. Okay. So all the value will be evaluated and stored in P. Okay. Based on the value available in P old at the right hand side. Now what you do next? You go for a convergence checking. Okay. So convergence. Let's say CONV, convergence. CONV you do not write in MATLAB. There may be some inbuilt code. So write CONV1 equal to your sum of, you just combine all pressures, sum of P minus sum of P old, okay, divided by sum of P old. Okay. Now this is a convergence. If P old and P are same, this convergence will become 0. Okay. If not, then it will come here. Then you assign P old the value of P. Okay. So put everything in a while loop. While your convergence 1 is greater than, let's say 10 to the power minus 5. So now run the code from here to here in your mind and tell me, can you understand this now? So that means you are checking convergence here. Okay. Then this convergence value, if it is greater than 10 to the power minus 5, so it will go on this while loop. It will not stop. Otherwise, it will come out of the while loop. Yes. Somebody
So
asking.
you take sum of P minus sum of P old for convergence. Like it should be for each point, right?
Each point also you can take. It is time consuming, but take as a whole, so it doesn't matter. Nowadays, I mean, you can add all these. We have many floating points, so it's not a problem. So even it is better. As a whole, you are reducing the error. Okay. You can try very well. You can try with point to point matching. No problem. But this is better. Even you take point to point matching, this will give the same answer. So let me know who
Sir.
cannot. Yes.
Sir, after the convergence one, why we assigned P old is equal to P?
And okay, you run this code in your mind. Okay, good question. Let me run for the I equal to 2. Okay. Then I come here. So I'll get some value of P here, right? Then I come here. So I told you this is iterative process. Then you come here, convergence. You will never get convergence. Then you assign it to P old so that when you go back to the next step, again you repeat it, right? While loop says what? Convergence should be if convergence is greater than 10 to the minus 5, you go on running this while loop. That means this P old, the next iteration, next step, P old will be the updated value. Okay. So how it goes? Let us draw a picture to see. This is from 0 to B. So all node points are there. Fine. So what will happen in first iteration? First, when you go run the for loop, go inside the while loop and run the for loop. So all P old values are 0. Okay. So in first iteration, what will happen? It will assign, it will update the values of P. So now if you draw P old or P, you will get something like this. This is first iteration. Now this is the P, right? In first iteration. Now I'm assigning this P to P old. When I go to the second iteration, so P will be calculated based on P old. Third iteration, again I'm assigning this blue line to P. Okay. So third iteration, it will go on like this. So it will go on like this. At some point of time, it will not change that much. Okay. At some point of time, it will just converge. So that is called convergence. This is what convergence you are looking at. Okay. So any doubt? So this will go on increasing this way. These are the iterations, number of iterations. It is going higher. It is starting from 0, all pressures. So utilizing the previous iterated pressure to find the new pressure. So go on iterating. At the point, automatically this convergence value will be less than 10 to the minus 5. It will come out of the loop. So any doubt? Okay. Once you come out of the loop, that means your P, I'm not writing here, I'm writing here. Once you come out of the loop, this P and your P old will be almost equal because of this convergence. Now what is load carrying capacity? Then you calculate W equal to, as we say, integration L P dx. So here in MATLAB, you can go for numerical integration methods, but I suggest not required, because if you take higher number of node points, the summation will do the trick. So go for sum P into L into delta X. Okay. So this delta X is your division that you find x2 minus x1 you can do for finding the delta X. Okay. So this will give you the load carrying capacity. Okay. Then you find the friction force the same way that we derived last class. If you want to find the friction force, also you can find out. So what I suggest, all of you start straight away. See here in this class today, almost I have written the program here for MATLAB, is not it? So straight away you go and then type in MATLAB, you'll get the solution. take some value of L, take some value of L, some value of B, okay, some value of alpha, and some reasonable value of these, and try this today. So in next class, yes, any doubt? So next class, further I will discuss in this solution technique. This is a first step of solution. I'll further discuss on improvement of this solution technique by adopting various relaxation methods. So any doubt so far? So this will be your first assignment. You will be submitting in Moodle by next week. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in PI equation on RHS side, there is PI plus 1. So,
What
how?
happened? Pi plus 1 will be there. You are talking about this Pi plus 1. RHS side is always Pi plus 1 or Pi minus 1. What is your doubt?
Sir, for getting PI, we should know RHS side values.
Values are 0 for first iteration. For second iteration, values will be updated here. Okay. This is a iteration. First iteration, when you solve first time in first for loop, right side all values will be 0 for P old. But P will not, this will not be 0. This Pi will not be 0. This will be updated. Some value will get in Pi. When you go to the next iteration, this P old, you are assigning P to P old. That means you are updating the value for the next iteration. Likewise, here I shown you in the diagram. This magenta line, what you get after first iteration. Okay, this red line, whatever in the diagram, you get this red line after your first iteration. But before that, all are 0. That's fine.
Yes, I got it now.
Yeah. So solve this problem in MATLAB. Start solving it so that you will get idea. Next class, you can ask me your doubt if you get any doubt in solving this problem. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, that is all for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
can you send these notes, sir?
Which notes?
The notes they're taking now.
I am just writing in a whiteboard. This is recording, na? What is your problem? You go through the recording quickly.
Okay, sir. Okay.
You are getting the recordings, na?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah, go through that.